the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out to our meeting. And sorry. This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. The Verona Board of Education passed a resolution at its meeting held on December 12, 2017. The meeting set forth the schedule of its regular meetings. The resolution was within 7 days of passing. The schedule was sent to the Verona City Both Times, the Star Ledger, the Herald News, the Township of Verona, and the Verona Education Association. Postings of this meeting setting forth the time, location, and agenda were posted in each of Verona's 6 schools, the board office, and town hall. This posting was also sent to the above newspapers, all SEA presidents, and SEA liaisons. The Verona Board of Education operates under consent agenda format. Any board member has a right to have an item pulled to be voted upon or discussed separately. Copies of tonight's agenda and resolutions have been made available to the public present. Mr. Day.
Here.
Mrs. Bernardino. Here. Mr. Elliott.
Here.
Mrs. Fresky. Here. Mr. Quattrochi.
Back to me. Thank you all for coming out tonight. And before we get started, are there any public comments on agenda items only? No? So then we're going to move right to the presentation, and we have Mr. Freund, the principal of Landing Avenue School, and the Landing Live 4th grade news broadcasting.
First off, thank you very much for having us come out tonight. It's one of our highlights. Every time we get to show you a little bit about what we do, and on the other end, to have our students come out here in public, in front of you, in front of the press, and show what they can do as well, and have an authentic experience. I'm going to talk really quickly about this, and then I'm going to show you this stuff. I guess about 2 years ago, I was watching our students make their morning announcements and watching their faces, their smiles, their giggles. They were having a great time, and I was thinking it would be great if we can have everybody see that, because they do it over the PA system. The only one that gets to see is me. So I called Elton, our technology director, and I said, is there any way that we can broadcast around the building? And he gave me a list of really expensive closed circuit equipment that I knew wasn't going to happen. We kicked around the idea a little bit of other ways to do it, and we came up with just a videotaped broadcast that we send out to everybody through Google. Store it on the drive, share it with specific permissions. At the same time, Mr. Samples, one of our third grade teachers, was working on a beefy grant to actually take kids, all the third graders, do a big poetry jam, and drop the third graders' poetry projects into a video surrounded by something that went along with the theme of their poems. I asked him for some advice on equipment. He said, I'm doing the same thing. We went to our incredible SCA, who said, let's do it. And I think the next day, we had a stack of Amazon boxes in our lobby. And that started the whole process. So I'm going to show you the broadcast, our latest broadcast. We do this second half of the year once we get everything going. And after that, I'm going to bring the stars of the broadcast up here to tell you a little bit about the process. So, without any delay.
I started teaching in 2007. This is my 11th. Wrong one. 11th year teaching. And you have
Nope, that's not it. All right. Try this again.
take
All
one.
right, okay.
If you are not a teacher, what?
We're just getting a little extra time. There it is.
Hi, we are Daniel, Max, Dylan, Caitlin, Chris, and Gwen. And we are the reporters for the fifth broadcast. We have some interesting stories to tell you. We hope you enjoy. Hi, I'm Chris, and I am interviewing Mrs. Solomon. When did you start teaching?
I started teaching in 2007 because it's my 11th year of teaching.
If you were not a teacher, what would you be?
I think if I weren't a teacher, I would probably still do something in education, so maybe be a principal.
What age did you want to start teaching?
I wanted to teach since I was young. When I was little, my sister and I used to play school. We'd be around her age, and we had a blackboard, and I would be on one side of the blackboard, and she'd be on the other. And we would have our pretend class, and we would teach.
If you did not teach at Lanning, where would you teach?
I can't imagine teaching anywhere other than Lanning. This is like my second home.
What grades have you taught?
I've only ever taught fourth grade. And
What subject do you like to teach the most?
well, the thing I love the most about elementary school is that I get to teach all subjects. So I like them all, and I get to teach them all. So that's the best thing.
What is the funniest thing a kid did in class?
Funniest thing anyone's ever done in class, I think, would be the time when a student came in and had their homework in a plastic bag, and it was all ripped apart, and it looked like someone had tried to eat it, and they told me, Mrs. Solomon, my dog ate it. And I thought, I was joking because it was April Fool's, but that was funny.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Dylan. I interviewed the 4th and 2nd grade on what their favorite indoor recess places to be. The first one, which was the new gym, had 57, which is the winner. The music room had 6. The library had 11, which came in 2nd place, and the music room came in last. Well, I personally like the music room. Goodbye!
Hi, we are Max,
Daniel,
and we're interviewing Mrs. Frida, and we took a survey on who liked which tree,
78 said yes.
and 10 said no.
Do you like the book and why?
I did love the book. I thought it was a great story that was engaging for both young kids and older kids, and I love the fact that it had happy ending.
What other book were you thinking about reading?
This year we were actually thinking about reading Charlotte's Web until we came across Wish Tree, and once we read Wish Tree, we knew that that had to be the choice for this year.
Why did you choose this book?
Again, we chose this book because it was good for both kindergarten and 4th grade. It had 2 stories going on. So for the little kids, it was a cute little story about animals, but for the older kids, there were a lot of moral lessons for them to learn.
What college did you go to in Verona?
I went to William Patterson University. I went there because it was close to home, and it was known as being a very good college for teachers.
Why did you want to be a library teacher?
I always wanted to be a library teacher from when I was little. I love to read, and I really wanted to teach other kids to have that enjoyment and love of reading.
What sports did you play when you were a kid?
I did gymnastics.
What did you do before being a library teacher, if you did anything?
I did have a very important job, probably the most important job of my whole life. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I took care of my 3 children.
Gingerbread Man was first place and got 18 votes. Next was Little Red Riding Hood that got 9 votes. Three Little Pigs also got 9 votes, and Princess Tennessee also got 9. Cinderella got 3 votes. Jack and the Beanstalk got 3 votes. And in last place, Goldilocks got 2 votes. Bye, thank you. Hi, my name is Caitlin and I'm interviewing Dr. Dionisio. What do you do as a superintendent?
Well, hi Caitlin, thanks for having me this morning. I'm really happy to be here and I'm really happy that we're able to have a conversation with you today. As a superintendent, my job is to work with the principals like Mr. Freund and the rest of the principals in the district and the administrators, and to work with the Board of Education and with the parents and with the students to make sure that kids like yourself have the best experience here in Verona in our schools.
What's the best or worst part of being a superintendent?
Ooh, that's a really hard question. I'll do the easy part first. The best part is being able to come to schools and hang out with students like yourself. That's, as I tell Mr. Freund and all the principals, like that's what makes my day. It puts a smile on my face. The worst part is that's a really hard one. What do you think about that? I would say the hardest part is probably getting people when they disagree on something to come to an agreement on whatever it is that they disagree. Did you ever have an experience in school where maybe you had two friends and they're fighting about something? It's not always the most pleasant thing, is it? So, as a superintendent, I have to listen to both sides of people's arguments, and then sometimes I have to make decisions that are really hard decisions, and making sure that it's the most fair decision for kids.
If you could change something about Verona Schools, what would it be?
Well, I think that Verona Schools it's a really great place, a really great community. We have lots of awesome children and lots of great adults. But I think any place, including Verona, we could always be a bit kinder and just continue for people to be kind and to always speak nicely to each other is probably the most important thing.
If you could pick another job, what would it be?
Teacher. I was a teacher for a long time, and that was by far the best job, being with kids every day and working in the classroom. So being a teacher.
Did you want to be a superintendent when you were a child?
I didn't even know what a superintendent was. No, I didn't want to be a superintendent when I was a child. When I was a child, I wanted to be a doctor, a medical doctor.
What did you go to college for?
I actually studied biology and chemistry in college. So I ended up receiving a Bachelor's of Science degree in biology and chemistry, and then I went into education.
What sports do you play as a kid?
I played soccer and baseball. Can I ask you a couple questions? What do you think is the best part? Like, what's your favorite part of being here at Landing or the Verona schools? The teachers? You love your teachers, right? We're really lucky to have great teachers, aren't we? And what kinds of things do you do outside of school? Like, do you do any sports or any dance or any art?
I do lacrosse and gymnastics.
You do lacrosse and gymnastics. You know, I have 3 children. I have 2 daughters and a son, and one of my daughters did gymnastics, and she was a cheerleader, so she used to do all the tumbles, we used to go to gymnastics competitions, and my son played lacrosse for a little bit, and so did my daughter. So, what position do you play in lacrosse? All of them? That's great, that's awesome. Caitlin, what can you tell me you would like to give me some advice as to, is there anything that we can focus on and make better here in Verona? Is there anything that comes to mind that you would like me to focus on and go back and talk to the teachers and the principals about? No, you think everything's okay? And can you contact Mr. Freund to contact me if there's ever anything else that comes to mind where you talk to your friends and you say, maybe we can tell Dr. Dionisio about this so that way we can try to make it better? Is that a deal? Thanks, Caitlin. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the interview.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. We hope you
So that's our broadcast, and it's a great time, and it allows me to work with the students.
Part two.
You want to watch it again? So I'm going to let the kids come up and talk a little bit about the process. They each have a couple sentences just about how we put it all together and how they come up with their stories. So, yeah?
Let's have them come and sit here, and they can speak into the mic.
I didn't prep them for that.
Come on up, guys.
Yeah, just make sure. Who's gonna go first? Me. You're going first? Okay, you sit, and let's, make sure you speak right, move this around, too. Okay?
Good evening, everyone. You just saw the 5th episode of Planning Live broadcast. We are in the 2nd year of this program, which is open for any 4th grader that wishes to participate. Each broadcast usually has 2 students from each of our classes, and students decide what they want to read full-time. Many students choose interviews with staff members or polls about students' opinions. When our names get chosen to be a part of the upcoming broadcast, we meet as a group with Mr. Florin and talk about possible ideas for a segment. We then spend a day or two coming up with our ideas, and then meet with Mr. Florin again to finalize our stories. After that, the only thing left to do is take our segment. Thanks to the Landing SCA, we have a green screen, special photo lighting, a high-definition video camera, and a MacBook computer with iMovie software. We use this equipment for the Landing Live broadcast, but other staff members use it for projects as well.
When our names are selected to be in a broadcast, we have a team meeting in Mr. Cohen's office. At that time, he gives us some guidelines to consider as we come up with ideas for our stories. We also brainstorm ideas as to topics that may be interesting to the entire school.
After that first meeting, we come up with our own ideas and meet back in Mr. Freund's office a few days later. At that meeting, we will tell Mr. Freund our ideas and focus in on specific questions or topics. We also come up with a plan for when we can keep our segments. When the taping day arrives, we meet up in room 119, where the equipment is, and take our introduction and closing, and then our segments. After we finish taping, we'll put together into 6 to 10 minute broadcast. Mr. Martin's music is added, and the user background is listed to green screen. The broadcast is then shared with all of Landing staff members, and they show it to their class.
This is so incredibly impressive, and I just have a couple of questions. So once you're getting ready to tape, are the students actually working the equipment to do the videotaping and the editing on the iMovies? No.
Right. Some people will frame the picture and they'll get behind the camera, depending on what kind of turnout. Sometimes we have to do it in pieces. If you were watching carefully, you saw that some kids were wearing different clothes in different segments. So we kind of pieced it together usually over 2 or 3 days after school.
Yeah, it's awesome. So what I do in my day job is I work for Dale Carnegie Training, and what they do is soft skill training for professionals, and they have a whole course that costs thousands of dollars on exactly what you students are learning how to do. Is public speaking, presenting, being in front of a group, being on camera. So these skills, even though you're having fun doing it, are extraordinarily valuable. I commend you all. It's awesome. Very nice.
I just have to say, and Mr. Freund knows this, the best part of my days is when I get to get into the schools and be with kids, and that was really awesome. We had a lot of fun, right, Caitlin? And I had a great time, and it's super impressive to see what our students are doing, which is so outside of the box and a great experience for them. So I commend all of you on doing such a great job, and keep working hard. And Mr. Freund, thank you very much, and thank you to the SCA for making it possible at Lanning Avenue School. And thanks for coming tonight and presenting. You guys are all doing a terrific job. I'm very proud of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Naturals. So now we are going to move on to our superintendent's report. I thought they were all going to say.
That would be the time that if you want to...
That was the most riveting part of tonight's presentation. So feel free, if you have somewhere to go, we won't take it personally. There you go.
For you? Is that leader for you or for the kids?
You did great. They were awesome.
It's just you, Susan. You get Owen. That's fine. Guess I'm seeing Owen at one. Well.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Next part of the evening, superintendent report. So I have a few updates. We actually just sent an email out yesterday. Obviously, we've had our own fair share of inclement weather this year. Sometimes we had to close school where we probably could have had it, but we had some state of emergencies where we had to call the days. We did exceed the allotted number of snow days, 3 days. On our school calendar that we build in every year. As a result, we had to add 2 days back to the spring break. Notification was sent out yesterday, making it official that April 5th, Thursday, April 5th, and Friday, April 6th are now full days in Verona Public Schools. We've made arrangements to have school on those days. We recognize that some people won't be here. We recognize it's an inconvenience, but it is something that we communicate to the public, to the parents, to the staff each and every year. The bottom of the calendar always says that if we were to exceed those days, we always start with the last day of spring break and work our way backwards. So we will have school this year, full days on April 5th and 6th, and that message, that communication has gone out. Secondly, I'd like to just send a little shout out to local law enforcement, Verona Police Department, Joel Martin, Officer Martin, and Acting Chief Chris Kiernan, as well as Scott Naraki, who is a special agent with the FBI. We had a wonderful training this morning for about 3 hours where we talked about threat assessment. It was all around school and security safety. This is something that we do on a regular basis, not necessarily with the FBI, but cooperation with local law enforcement, training at the county level, getting feedback around school security measures, with best practice recommendations from the Department of Homeland Security at the federal level, and practicing our security drills. So it's obviously something that's been very important in Verona for many years, and we're always looking to refine our practices, and we're always looking at the steps that we take and how can we do it better. Part of today was also looking with the entire administrative team and getting the training from the FBI around this program that really allows us to start taking a look at what the preventive measures are that are out there, what the warning signs, what the threat assessment signs are. So we are going to continue looking at our safety and security plans. We feel that they're strong, but like anything else, there's always room for improvement. It is something that is constantly changing in how you prepare, and the best practices do change from time to time. And with recent events over the past 2 or 3 years, more and more things are changing, so we always want to stay up to date. So we're going to take some of those best practices that were recommended. We're going to share those and have some discussions with a district level security team. Part of that district level security team will be working closely with our local law enforcement officers here in Verona and getting counsel from the FBI as well as other safety organizations. And if anybody asks, no, I'm not going to share what those are because we like to keep those close to the vest to keep our staff and our students safe. So, but just wanted to be able to share with everyone that it was a productive morning, and we will have some steps following up to make sure that we carry out any areas that we can make it better.
And who sponsors that event? Is that a federal, state, or?
So that actually was a free program through the FBI.
Okay.
Yeah. So we didn't have to pay for anything, and the program is available and it's there. It was a lot of things that we already knew, but also, really talking about some behind-the-scenes information that the FBI is aware of, as far as statistics, taking a look at, we did discuss mental health, we did discuss behavioral issues, we talked about a multitude of possible triggers that are out there, but it was less around talking about safety and what we're currently doing in order to lock down and have our security drills, and more along like looking first globally at the big holistic picture around threats and safety against threats, and then being preventive. All of the things that you could do in order to strengthen the community, making sure that you have really good communication within your organization, within all of your schools, and with law enforcement and response. So we felt like coming out of today that we do a lot of those things already, but like anything else, there were some pieces here and there we said, you know what, maybe we should do a little bit more in that area. So it was a good practice and a good exercise.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We do have resolution 4.3 tonight. I'd just like to recognize both of those staff members, Debbie Marsano, special education teacher at HBW Middle School, and Ms. Kate Smith, 6th grade science at HBW. Both of them have put in for official retirement. They will be retiring effective this year, June 30th of this year. I'd just like to congratulate both of them. They've given many years to Verona and have done an absolutely wonderful job with our students, and they've been tremendous here at HBW, and we will miss them, and we wish them well in the next chapter of their life. So congratulations to both Mrs. Marsano and Mrs. Smith. Resolution number 7 on tonight. We have, it's a consultant by the name of Ross Haber Associates. Just want to give a little bit of clarity as to what that is. That is $2,500 for a fee for Ross Haber Associates to do what they call enrollment projection services. And that's really to take a look at what our enrollment looks like with students who are currently here, but even more importantly, a live birth study. So taking a look at all of the children who live in Verona, who are going to be coming into the Verona schools, who are not school-aged yet. And the reason that's important, and it's been a number of years since we've done it, is to really take a look, fast forward at our projections for enrollment, because we want to make sure that we're always ahead of it and preparing, so that way we know what our class sizes and grade levels are going to be. Obviously, we know that our enrollment has climbed in the past few years. It was typical, and enrollment always fluctuates, but it was typical that enrollment would be around 150 graduating seniors. We do have 2 grades, the current 9th and 10th grade, that they're near 200. So our enrollment at Verona High School was about 600 2 years ago. This year it's about 694. We're projecting it's going to be about 715, 720 in another year or two. And it's not just a bubble with the current 9th and 10th grade. If you do take a look at maybe the next 8 or 9 years below, the typical graduating class looks like it's going to be around 175, potentially 180. Obviously there's some fluctuation there, but that amounts to easily 100 to 150 students more in your high school when you're in a 4-year span. And the same thing for our middle school. 4-year span is going to be about 100 to 150 more students. So it's always, it's prudent on our part to make sure we're staying ahead of it and we're taking a look at it. One of the things that we're also doing as well is, this is important because we have not done it in a while, but looking forward to May when we're going to be doing a presentation on full-day kindergarten and educating the community and talking about that. We really want to know what the numbers look like as well, because that will play into those projections. So it all kind of fits together. It's the right time, and we haven't done it in a while, and we are going to be doing that presentation in May. So be good to have that statistic.
So with that growing population at the middle school and the high school, are there enough classroom spaces? Like, what does that do to us as far as buildings, or more of those pieces are gonna come into?
So classroom space is tight at the middle school. It's also tight at the high school. There's more sharing of classrooms. That's the only way to go about doing it. That the high school, or the middle school, even though the bubble has come to the high school, there's still about 700 students as well. So it's gone down, but it hasn't dropped precipitously, right? So it's not 600 students anymore. It's still 700, 690. So it's still a fairly large middle school. So there's a lot of sharing of classrooms and being creative as to our specialists or even our team teachers if necessary, and making sure that we're sharing as much as we can. Resolution number 19 is a donation for Brookdale Avenue School. This was an anonymous donation, and it's for technology upgrades and makerspace enhancements, and it's a value of $25,000, which, as we know, is extremely significant and very, very generous. So it is an anonymous donation, but I would just like to publicly recognize whoever that person was or those people were, and thank them for their generosity to our schools and for helping support technology upgrades in that makerspace movement, which has really picked up quite a bit at Brookdale Avenue School and has been a really nice addition. And Mrs. Walker and some of the other teachers there have been doing a really nice job. It's been really exciting work that they've been doing. Last meeting, we were able to recognize Mrs. Fresky with her certification with New Jersey School Boards. Mrs. Nardino has recently shared that Mr. Quattrochi was recently recognized the other day. For 15 years of service as a Board of Education member. So congratulations to Mr. Quattrochi. He, I think, was invited to a dinner recognizing years of service by New Jersey School Boards. So that's coming up in a few weeks. So congratulations to Mr. Quattrochi for that acknowledgement and for that recognition and for his service to our Board of Education. And then last but not least, the main reason for our committee meetings the past week or so has been really centered around giving an update with the budget process. So tonight we do have a resolution on for the preliminary budget. And although we don't have details around what the specific things in the budget are, we still have some work to do in kind of sharpening the pencil and refining and evaluating our programs and where adjustments need to be made. That will take place at a public portion at the April meeting. I believe that April meeting, are we still on track, Ms. Nardino, for April 24th? Does that still fall within the timeline?
Yes.
So the April 24th meeting will be the public discussion and the formal presentation where Ms. Nardino and I will present the budget. The preliminary budget, Ms. Nardino has managed, and a lot goes into this. Ms. Nardino has been working diligently behind the scenes. She's been meeting with people on the administrative team. I've had numerous meetings. Each year the budget does get tougher and tougher. We feel like we start the budget process earlier and earlier every single year. And it goes later and later, right down to the wire sometimes. And we've had a lot of meetings with our principals, with members of our administrative team, and really taking a look at what our current programs are. Out of the current programs, our current staffing, what are the things that we feel we're doing a good job of? Where are areas that we could perhaps do it and be more proficient and be a little wiser with how we're spending money? I will say it is very, very difficult to become creative because we already operate on an extremely lean budget here. The per pupil cost in Verona is $13,500. Quite honestly, I have colleagues in other districts that easily have a per pupil cost of $17,000, $18,000, $19,000, $20,000. Some people would say to me, well, that's only $4,000 or $5,000. On 2,200 students, that's millions. And that is significant in being able to get those resources in and to provide an education. So for the dollar, I don't think you could do a better job than what Verona has done for the past 15 years. But it is becoming increasingly more difficult and challenging. We are exploring any possible changes to programs. We do that all the time on an annual basis. what do things cost? We always want to make sure, though, that we're maintaining the delivery of instruction and what's in the best interest of children. We try to mitigate and minimize the impact in the classroom, so to make sure that people don't feel it and to make sure that our students and our teachers don't feel it wherever possible. But at the same time, we also have a strategic plan with goals. We also have a standard that we want to maintain for ourselves and for our community. And it does become increasingly challenging. Where we can make changes and do things a little differently, we'll explore those things. We'll maintain the programs to the best of our ability, and we'll look at the next 4 or 5 weeks to continue to sharpen the pencil and be ready to go on April 24th to give a public presentation to the board and to the public. Okay. And that's it for the superintendent report.
Does anybody have any questions? So moving into the committee reports, there's really no updates other than what Dr. Dionisio said. All the committees did meet this week, and the focus of the discussions were around exactly what Dr. Dionisio was saying. Does anybody have any questions or any comments on that? So discussion items, we don't have any discussion items tonight, do we? No discussion items?
No discussion items.
So then we can move on to the resolution.
So we just have a correction on resolution number 5. Those HIB cases were approved last meeting, but there should be a Verona High School HIB case approved tonight. Yeah, it's the number is VHS 022118. 022118.
And that's a case that the board had for first reading a couple weeks ago.
And do we need to, and you all have the addendums with those copies? Yeah, okay. Right, so then next we have to call for a motion.
So moved. Second.
So moved by Mr. Elliott, second by Mr. Day. And the vote.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mrs. Bernardino?
Yes.
Mr. Elliott?
Aye.
Mrs. Kresge?
Yes.
I just wanted to add, for resolution 18, I did vote yes for the preliminary budget and the questions, but I am looking forward to the full kind of presentation on full day K to get more details. Kind of have some questions on that, so looking forward to getting more details on how that will be structured moving forward.
And that's coming.
Is that?
We expect that to be in May.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it'll be the first or the second meeting, but we're going to have Mr. Miller and our 4 elementary principals at the very minimum be doing the presentation. Perhaps some of the supervisors will join in, but we know that it'll at least be the 5 of them doing the presentation.
I think just one thing I want to mention about those 2 separate proposals is the way the funding works for that. So when you approve this, and in the wording it says that the program will start in January, because the vote's November. So if it passes, we'll be ready to start in January. But you have to budget for the entire amount, because you need that base to build on for the 1920 year. So correct.
Okay,
so
that makes sense.
the tax levy will increase, and the dollars are not spent, and it sort of falls into the surplus for the next year.
So the intention is not to have full day K from January through June, it's for the entire year, it just would only.
The program will run in 18-19. So January 19.
Yes, but it will be a full year program, it just, the vote is not till November, so it will start in January for that year.
Correct.
Year.
19-20, right,
Yes.
right. So if there's parents.
That's a lot of full stuff
If
happening.
there's parents who are sending their kids to kindergarten this September, they're not gonna see the full day until January.
If
If
it's
it
voted.
passes.
And I just wanted to add too, that we had to have the questions here to vote on. They have to be in the budget when we approve the budget, or we can't have the question, right? That's-
Correct, correct. And then this wording allows us to put that question on the ballot, so people will see it in the voting machine when they go to vote for the candidates, and then they'll just see the 2 questions and the numbering on the budget.
Candidates, 2 spots.
2 spots,
2
2
spots.
seats are up.
That's right.
Mrs. Bernardino, Mr. Quattrochi this year.
Oh, wow.
And the deadline for that, you know,
End of
for
July,
one
right?
person who's in the audience, if you want to run for the, please with the rest. Yeah, not just you, Susan.
End of July, right?
It's end of July, yeah.
No, but the 15 people here. I need more people here, so.
Yes.
Because we're on YouTube.
We do need more people here, absolutely.
So,
And lastly, if there's any public comments, you could come up to the podium. No? All right, then the next public meeting is Tuesday, April 10th, with confidential session at 6 o'clock and public session at 7, and we're going to close the meeting. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.